Solidarity, comrades. Sorry about the cat noise. Anjing, mommy. She only speaks Chinese. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about the primary contradiction, or what us Maoists call the primary contradiction. Much of what I talk about today will be agreed upon by most Marxist-Leninists, Marxist-Leninist Maoists. Anyone who understands modern imperialism will agree with this. But I wanted to make this video because I was having a conversation with someone who's new to Marxism, and they were struggling with the idea of supporting anti-imperialist forces that were not specifically socialist. And to explain to them why that is, I had to go into dialectical contradiction and imperialism, and capitalism is the highest form of imperialism and all of that. And I decided, why not just slap it all together in a quick video. So what us MLMs, Maoists, Marxist-Leninist Maoists call the primary contradiction is basically the dialectical contradiction between socialism and capitalism. Now, Lenin wrote, imperialism is the highest form of capitalism. So, therefore, in order to destroy the antagonistic contradiction to our goal of socialism, or in order to achieve our goal of socialism, we have to destroy the dialectical antagonistic contradiction to that in order for the material conditions to exist for socialism to be built. And that means for most anti-imperialist forces in this world come from countries that are victims of imperialism. Therefore, we support those institutions. My cat's playing with a roll of tape. I'm sorry about that. So, since socialism is the primary, capitalism is the primary contradiction, what we Maoists call the primary contradiction to socialism, we must destroy it in order to build socialism. Easy enough. What's not so easy is analyzing the imperialist situation in the world. I'm not going to go into a lot of specifics on that because that could be a whole video on its own. But a few examples of anti-imperialist forces that are not socialist or do not have the goals of Marxists is the legal Syrian government led by the Baathists and Bashar al-Assad. Hamas, an anti-imperialist, anti-Zionist Shia militant group and political party. The Islamic Republic of Iran, a strong anti-imperialist force that enforces Islamic democracy, which is not Marxist in the slightest. Also, other countries that seem to come into conflict with some first world leftists that we shouldn't defend are the DPRK for some reason, even though that they're a shining example of anti-imperialism. I've made a video on that. And sometimes they don't like the socialism or the Bolivarian revolution because it's not Marxist socialism. But the fact of the matter is the Bolivarian revolution is an anti-imperialist movement, and therefore it must be supported because it is combating the primary contradiction to socialism existing in Bolivia, which is American imperialism. So, because the highest form of capitalism is imperialism, and we want to build socialism in these places, we must crush imperialism in order to build socialism. It's as simple as that. It can even change the material conditions of the first world, because whenever Western imperialism or U.S. imperialism, European imperialism has been crushed, then the workers of the labor aristocracy of those nations will no longer have the spoils of imperialism to hold them back. They will have nothing to lose but their change at that point. They will once again be real proletariat and not just the labor aristocracy. So this doesn't just benefit the third world. This benefits all the entire world, of global socialism, the primary contradiction of destroying this primary contradiction, and that being imperialism. We have learned, my favorite Mao quote I've said in many videos is, where do correct ideas come from? Do they drop from the skies? No. Are they innate in the mind? No. They come from social practice and from it alone. And he goes on to list the 3 types of social practice. We have 100 years of 200 years of anti-colonial practice, where we have learned incorrect and correct ideas. Anti-colonial struggle practice, where we have learned correct and incorrect ideas. We have over 100 years of proletarian struggle, where we have learned correct and incorrect ideas. We have over 100 years of anti-imperialist struggle, where we have learned correct and incorrect ideas by analyzing them dialectically in a dialectically critical manner. And we learned that the correct idea is to support the anti-imperialist struggle in nations, countries, and states that are victims of imperialism. Examples of these states that are victims of imperialism, that have anti-imperialist forces to support: the Bolivarian Revolution in Venezuela, Cuba and the Communist Party of Cuba, the DPRK. Also, moving further to the Middle East, but also in Asia, Iran and the Islamic Republic, the Syrian Arab Army, and Hamas, and all the Palestinian national liberation struggles, as well as the Assad government in Syria fighting against Western imperialism. We do not ally with Rojava and the Kurds because they have allied themselves with the primary contradiction of socialism, that being Western imperialists. Allying yourself, having your money paid by Western imperialists, including the illegal settler state of Israel, it's just discredits you as an anti-imperialist force and a force for imperialism. Now, that's why we must focus on these anti-imperialist struggles and less so on inter-imperialist struggles. Right now you have major imperialistic powers in the world struggling over global hegemony of that imperialist power. Right now, the global hegemony is being led by the US and its European and puppets in the third world. So, not only is always allying yourself with the anti-imperialist force, whether it's socialist, Marxist in nature or not, is because it is the correct idea. Through social practice, through centuries of social practice, an analysis of the material conditions, and the analysis of the practice where there has failed and success, we know what the correct idea is, and it is to support anti-imperialism always against the United States and its Western allies, and even the puppet governments set up oppressing and oppressed nations. So always support anti-imperialism and the primary contradiction that it is. Solidarity, comrades, and keep on the fight against the imperialist forces. We will win.